Hey everyone, it's Kristan. Welcome to this new episode of the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast. I am here in California and I'm so very excited to be live in person today with my good friend and mentor, Berni Neal. You all may have never heard of Berni Neal. You wonder who Berni Neal is. You're going to love Berni just as much as I love her by the end of this podcast. Berni is a visionary. She is a former marketing executive. She's done so many good things for so many causes that we all care about. She currently serves on the board of, I think you've probably heard of it, EWTN, the Magnificat Foundation, Live Action, Thomas Aquinas College. She frequently consults with, any ministry that's out there that needs any help in marketing. She is just a wonderful, wonderful human being and connector. She and her husband, Rob, are great mentors and friends of Students for Life. And we're actually sitting in Rob's office, and when he's not here, we get to shoot podcasts in his office. So it's great. And so you're here in Orange County, and then you're splitting your time also in Washington, D.C. because she's a new nanny, grandmother, right?
A grandmother nanny. Yes,
nanny.
That's both would apply.
Oh, that's right. All right. I wanted to make sure people were like, why is she babysitting? Like, no, you're a nanny. You're a grandma nanny. So I asked you to come on because this isn't going to be, I think this podcast is going to be pretty similar to how our conversations usually go, minus the update about Kristan's life. I gave it to you in like 5 very sad minutes before this. But we always have so many amazing conversations about where the pro-life movement needs to go. And I always kind of use you as my sounding board for, hey, I'm thinking about this new project. What do you think? I have been, I believe, pretty clear in past podcasts where I think one of our biggest challenges in the pro-life movement is our lack of marketing savvy and skill, our lack of dollars that we attribute to what our marketing and advertising budget should be. And as we get ready for the Dobbs v. Jackson women's health care decision, right, which will be this June, some folks believe it could lead to the reversal of Roe, mainly Planned Parenthood. A lot of pro-life attorneys believe it's certainly going to be a huge milestone on that journey. But I think, now more than ever before, others in the pro-life movement have started to say what we've been saying and for so long, that this is going to be a post-Roe generation, that post-Roe v. Wade is going to happen. And, how do we prepare for it? So I wanted to pick your brain, because this is the first time I've been in California for a while since COVID, about where you think, and you and Rob, you sit on all of these boards and you're investing in these different ministries, but where do you think the pro-life movement really should be focusing its time and energy and really being and speaking into problems as we prepare and for that lead up and then for the eventual reversal of Roe? It's a big question. We can answer it.
Sure. Why not? Well, first of all, the first time I heard somebody say in a post-Roe v. world, Roe v. Wade world was you. You were the first person, and I thought, wow, that's she's much younger than me, so she's got a lot of time, But here it is, yeah. And it's really unbelievable. So first of all, I really admire you for the kind of vision and kind of planting the flag out there and saying things so that we could kind of get ready for it.
We get used to it, right?
We got used to it. So here it is. And I do agree. I believe that we are facing the opportunity of a lifetime in reversing this this scourge that has been going on. But I think one of the things that's really important that we don't remember is that, people who don't agree with us, we think that, that you can spot them, but the reality is they are just like us, right? They share our values. They want their kids to go to, good schools. They want good health. They want their parents to, to be at peace and not, in some horrible situation health-wise, or just so many things, right? So we share values. We share these things. They don't want to go through divorce, but we don't share morals. That's a key distinction. But we got to start with what we share. And we've lost sight of that. And so we quickly get to the emotions. You don't agree with me, and we talk about cancel culture. We talk about, I don't have anything in common with you, so, why am I bothering? Well, if we don't start there, then what? I mean, and it really starts in the family. How many of us have family members that, whether it was who you voted for or pro-life or what church you go to, you don't agree. And so somehow you manage to avoid those conversations because they're not comfortable and talk about the weather. You don't do that.
My husband's entire family.
Yes, but you're not like that. And
that's what makes it really awkward when we get together.
It does. But you've also done a great job of the pro-life generation being able to have the language. Now, the challenge is the pro-life generation and my generation, who's really been to blame for a lot of this, is the willingness to just be really hostile and ugly. You know, it's really very emotional. There is no logic. There is no thoughtful dialogue. It's just, I'm angry. I'm upset. You know, is it because, you know, I don't know, you know, the divorce rate and lack of whole families and the ability to, you know, I'm either at mom's house or dad's house, but it's never together. I don't know how this has all fomented, but we've got to find a way to look at the common ground and start to have this conversation. Easy to say, but here's an example. Sports. You go on a sports blog, right? And if you're a Dodgers fan and you're all rabid Dodgers fans, you have something in common. And if somebody brings up something, a politics or something, and at the time, again, during the presidential campaign, it was interesting to see what would happen because there was already, we're on the same team. We're rabid about, you know, the pitcher or whatever. But when you brought up, but I disagree with you on this, there was still an allowance, a permission to kind of wade into that, which was interesting. So I think we as a pro-life movement need to look at some of these spaces that are not just the pro-life blogs. We need to speak into other places where people have the religion of sports or the religion of recipes or the religion of knitting. You know what I mean? And how do we then, because we have a place that's safe and we have things in common, then are able to build relationship before we can wade into the truly weightier issues. But you can't just do that, you know, without having relationship.
That's right. Yeah. I was kind of smirking when we were talking about that because I remember when Pinterest got really big and one of our team members was like, we got to do something on Pinterest. And they're like, Kristan, you can't make Pinterest pro-life. You just can't do it. And Pinterest is pretty, I would say, very conservative. Moms, it's mostly recipes or ideas for my new home that I'll build at some point. But so then all my boards are like recipes, you know, desserts I'll make while abolishing abortion, you know, things to do with kids while abolishing, you know, that's where I kept all my little listicles. But it was just speaking into the culture. And then I got like followers that are like, these are just like gluten-free dessert recipes, but I'm glad you like them too. And also happen to be pro-life.
Yeah, but Kristan, you could do things like, for example, you know, gluten-free muffins from when you're protesting and you have to stand there for 12 hours,
That's right?
I mean, there are so many ways that the other thing is we've lost our sense of this is a difficult, ugly conversation.
It is.
But if we lose our sense of joy and gratitude that we can be upright and fighting for those who cannot, that we should be proud that we're fighting for them. Where's our sense of, you know, I don't have to be doing this. No one has to be doing this. We do it because we love them that we don't even know. Talk about a leap of faith, a leap of love, a leap of hope, you know. So coming up with, you know, pack your backpack with, you know, whatever.
We've done those graphics and stuff, like what to wear when you're marching for life, you know.
Exactly.
What to bring in your suitcase.
Exactly. I mean, there is, the pro-lifers that I know of, there is just such a sense of a great sense of humor because you've got to have a great sense of humor to endure, you know, the kind of things that you're faced with. I mean, I you know, watch your messages and the emails and the e-blasts, the things that the courageous warriors in Students for Life that they do. They take it head on. They take the blows. They take the spitting. They take this stuff, you know. So how do we console and comfort them? Yes. But to that person out there who doesn't agree with this, how do we reach out to them, you know? And how do we say, you know, where's all this anger? What is this about?
Having the conversation, the
Having
real conversation.
I know several years ago in the March for Life in San Francisco, there were some bishops that were asked to carry the flag at the very beginning. And it was unbelievable. I was not there, but a bishop shared with me the kinds of things that were thrown at them because they were the front lines. And it's like, animals don't do that to each other. Where, you know, and so how do we ask a person like, you jerk, you know, instead of, I mean, we may feel that way, but what pain do you have that makes you cart this across the city, carrying it, and then
with the intention of harming?
With the intention of harming. Like, are we asking that question? In a post-Roe v. Wade, we're going to need to be prepared to pivot to this sort of asking, like, how did you come to this? Because that's, where is your humanity? Do you do this at your Friendsgiving? Do you bring, what are you doing?
Maybe they do. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. We see this on campus, a lot and that's one of the things that our regional coordinators and student leaders have to be trained in, is how do you de-escalate the conversation or the yelling that's happening so you can actually have a conversation, because this is probably a person who has had and experienced some sort of trauma in their life. That is, obviously, like, why else would you go in front of strangers and start cursing and spitting at them and making a complete idiot of yourself if there wasn't something deeply psychological that you were hurt from? And I think that actually helps me, because people always ask me all the time, like, well, how can you deal with like all these people, these protesters and people I'm like, they're not the problem. Because once you see them as these are wounded people that have likely some sort of past abortion decision, or they know someone who had to make an agonizing choice, I get more frustrated with people who are pro-life and are on our side, supposed to be on our side, than someone who's coming up and yelling and spitting and cursing. And so I think that's a really great thing to start at values.
Well, we got to start with values, but then we also, I have someone else that I know that was a teacher of screenplays, taught screenwriting, how to do screenplays. And one of the screenplays really jolted her. She said it was a young woman who wrote about, the fact that she had a sibling who had been aborted, and she knew about this. And the end of her movie was how she euthanizes her parents, and the, epilogue is, well, my parent had no problem euthanizing my sibling. Why would I feel uncomfortable about euthanizing my parent? Now, it's set in a sci-fi sort of environment, but when you think about...
I remember that.
Right? When you think about what that says, that entire cultural system, philosophy, this person in a fictional context really encapsulated, a reality. So for the boomer generation, that's all up in arms about, the idea of, I don't want to be in pain, I don't want this. But when your kid tells you, well, now you're sick and I'd like to euthanize you, it'd be, it's going to be, well, we're facing it now. We're facing it now because we've trained the generations to say, yeah, life doesn't matter. And, as boomers, our lives, the me, the I, it's so important. It's all about me, until it really is. And now when the child says, you're right, it's about you. It's about you not being here because it's really about me now.
Yeah, because you're an inconvenience.
You're an inconvenience.
To me.
You're an inconvenience. And that was a fictional story.
I remember that. We screened it in LA. There was like a rooftop thing. I remember we showed
Conversation,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chilling.
That was a long time. That was a long time ago.
Chilling.
So I know, you're here in Orange County and you're all over the place, but you're in Orange County a lot, going to these swanky events. You hang out with people who've done incredible things in their career and have these relationships in Hollywood and in sports. And how do you, Berni, handle these kind of conversations when you're in these like dinner parties or a swanky reception at the whatever country club it is?
So one year I met a woman at a sports car event, and we really hit it off. And then she realized, oh my gosh, she's Catholic, she's pro-life, she's conservative, all of it. But she said, but I still really like you. It's so weird, And so, and we were, we were traveling internationally. So then she said, well, I live in LA too. Let's get together. Great. So we got together. And then she started sending me emails, and I would send her the occasional email related to life, the issues I care about. And she had attended an HBCU. She was from LA, but she had attended a historically Black college university. And she was a constitutional lawyer. So she said, I really want you to meet my friends. You're so, it's fascinating. I've never heard these things, I want you to meet my friends. So she invited Rob and I to their New Year's Eve party. Okay. So I was like, do we really want to do this? And I'm like, do we really want to spend New Year's Eve this way?
Yeah. Armor up.
Exactly. So like, yes, I think we do. Well, let me back up. Before she invited us to the party, she had sent me an email responding to one of my emails, going off on how could I think that that the life of the woman who was pregnant and that she needed to make a difficult choice was not more important than what life she could offer this child. That's why abortion was important and necessary for society to be able to thrive. So I replied in my way about the life of the child and so forth. And she then came back at me with a lot of hostility and profanity and everything. I waited about 15 minutes.
This was before the invite.
This was before the invite. I'm so sorry. I'm telling this out of order. This is before the invite. I did respond to her in a way that I just said, I want to discuss this further. I just, let's talk about the child. And I responded in such a way that her email response was an apology. She said, I'm so sorry. You and Friendship want to have this conversation, and I've just unloaded on you. I apologize. And it was amazing. Then came the invitation to the New Year's Eve party.
So you had to go.
I had to go.
Sorry, Rob.
Yeah. We arrived at 11:30.
So California. So California.
And we were the first ones there. No. We arrived at 11:30. And when we came through the door, the party was in LA. She said, everybody. And there was about 100 people there. She said, this is Rob and Berni. They're the ones I've been telling you about. They're from Orange County. They're Catholic and they're pro-life.
With all these drunk New Year's Eve party goers.
No, and it was a Hollywood party. It was the people who were involved in, Hollywood. But one couple came up to me very, quickly and said, we were the ones that early on were very much behind UCLA being able to get the LGBTQ, at the time they called it center. I don't know what they call it now, but, we were the ones that were instrumental. We funded that. We funded the fight. We were very, very active in the Obergefell, fight. And they really wanted me to understand where they were and how they were not Catholic. They were not pro-life.
To be like, well, I'm just asking because I like gay fetuses.
Yeah. Well,
sorry. I'm feeling sassy.
Well, and imagine, when the time comes, if, so it was very interesting. So literally on a person because they would, the ones that stayed away just didn't have the courage, but the ones that were, had bravado of saying, this is my cause and so forth. Step on up. Let's have the conversation. And so we did, they, and you just had, Rob and I, we divide and conquer. We took it, we took different sides of the room. We talked to the, the different TV show celebrities and the different this and that, the ones that were behind the scenes. And we just had a conversation one by one. And it was very interesting. One finally came out because Rob in his conversation, they found out that this guy had been an Eagle Scout. Well, Rob was, chair of the Boy Scouts in Orange County. And, so there was simpatico, and then, so it just kind of rolled through. And it was a very powerful evening for me. I admired her for inviting us because I don't know, comfort or not, but we still get together and we still have the conversations and I try to get out of my bubble. I'm very comfortable, even though I'm usually in a Catholic bubble. I still have lots of disagreements with my fellow Catholics, but it's really important for me, I think, to step way beyond my comfort level, but with people that I really have nothing in common with, but there's much to learn.
I think that's great. I mean, I think it's so important to emphasize that shared values and having those conversations and assuming the best in those that you're having conversations with, assuming that other person who you're debating abortion with also cares about human beings and that isn't just this evil person who doesn't care about any human beings besides themselves, even though they may completely sound like that. But assuming the best. That's just why I'm not the best person in conversations, because I don't assume the best about people. But I'm not the apologist on staff. Let's be real. I'm the one who'll tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. But our team does an amazing job at having, and that's why we're trying to measure how many conversations are we having and how far can we move people down the kind of linear abortion always good, abortion never good scale when we have those conversations on campus. What do you think in a larger sense, I guess maybe a more institutional sense, that we in the pro-life movement need to be thinking about and looking for as we're ready for post-Roe? Because I personally believe, I know you've served for a number of years for a pregnancy medical center, a women's health center that's fully comprehensive, does incredible work in the Orange County area. But what do we need to be thinking about as we're looking into a post-Roe? Because I think what we see with our campaign for abortion-free cities at Students for Life. So we're door knocking in 20 cities, and we're having those conversations in neighborhoods surrounding an abortion facility, telling people about the violence that's happening inside and about the nonviolent alternatives in the city. And nobody ever knows. No one ever knows about the pregnancy center. It's shocking how nobody knows.
Yeah, it's true. So let me anecdotally a story with the abortion pill. Here in Orange County, there was a fire captain who called the Women's Health Center and said, "Can somebody come and counsel my paramedics and the firemen? Because on average, we've received one call a day for a young woman who is hemorrhaging or traumatized or hysterical because of an abortion pill. One a day."
And here in your county? Here
in Orange County, Mission Viejo, California. Okay. Very much a bedroom community. And he said, and my men, they're suddenly having to deal with these young women who are all stages of everything, the pain, everything. I need someone to counsel and educate them to understand what's going on. So I tell that story because in our private lives, we're in the pro-life fight, but the way that every man in different ways is being touched by this issue, we can't even begin to fathom, right? So one of the challenges I see is that the pro-life movement is very, very intentional and very passionate, but we're a whole lot of silos. And we've talked about this a lot. And I think the reason why is because we're so focused on our own mission that there isn't time to say, hey, what are you doing? Okay, now let me get back to my, but hey, what are you doing? And, let's get kind of a way that we can get all of this information so that we can be more effective and productive. For religious women, as an example, and for those of you who are not Catholic, nuns, they are nuns, they each have a charism. So one might be education, one might be healthcare, one might be elderly. You've heard, sisters, Saint Teresa of Calcutta, it was the poor, it was the indigent. So they have an event once a year where they come together, but they all know enough about each other that if there's an issue in their community, say, this person's really good at this, we can't handle that. Why don't we in the pro-life have a way to say, Students for Life, they know how to reach, they're on the campuses, they know how to reach this demographic. Live Action, you're doing amazing advocacy materials that are, social media, you're doing it extremely well. Those of you that are involved in the trenches in terms of clinics, let us help you. You're not maybe good at marketing, but let us help you. We haven't been effective in saying, what do each of us do well? Let's continue to do that well. But we need to be so much more porous in our conversations with each other. Because look, if the clinic isn't good at marketing, it's a real problem. Because you have volunteer hours, donor dollars, equipment and space, but who's going to show up? Who's going to show up? And we see that over and over. We see that over. And it shouldn't be up to you that's visiting the city to make people aware in their own town that there's within 5 miles, a women's clinic. How can we better network, churches?
Yeah. That's part of the whole campaign for abortion-free cities. The goal is in every city, we're trying to find 10 churches to partner with and really get the churches to take this mantle up that, yes, I'm going to help promote the nonviolent alternatives in my city. Yes, I will help get trained by sidewalk advocates to go out and find the abortion facility. Yes, I'll go help Students for Life and door knock. And but even that, that's a whole different probably podcast episode of trying to get the churches and the ministers and the priests to be willing to speak out about abortion. And you kind of hit upon it briefly about the men. And this fire chief calling you guys because the men aren't equipped to talk about this issue. Even the pro-life men feel that they can't talk about it. They've been kind of neutered on this issue. And so, I mean, when you're talking about trying to get churches involved, we still have to back up here, and we've got to answer these questions that these priests and pastors and youth ministers, they've been trained not to talk about this question because it's her body, her choice.
Right.
So there's a lot of different, I think, dynamics there. It's so funny because you're talking about working together. We just took live actions video. We emailed Joseph, the CFO, one day, and I was like, "Hey, we're going to take your video and make it virtual reality on campuses. So, what do you want us to do? Just credit you. So we're working together.
I love it.
You have to be You have to intentionally go.
Right.
Okay, we need a video that's virtual reality on campus that shows life in the womb. Who has already done that? And we believe live action just came out with this baby Olivia video. That's amazing. Yes. Let's just take that and make it virtual reality. Right. And so you just have to kind of to try. My best remedy for the breaking down silos, and we've talked, like you said, we've talked about this a lot of years, is trying to be intentional and instill that within our team of don't reinvent the wheel. Look for somebody who's already done this very well. And if we can't find someone who's done this very well, then we can have that discussion. But that's what I love about, I haven't even told you much about our campaign for abortion-free cities. Well, if you read my fundraising letters, you probably saw. But the thing I love so much about it is we're able to bring together different groups. So we're working with sidewalk advocates to bring them into every city train. And then one of our former team members, Missy Stone, who I just recently interviewed, is now the CEO of Reprotection. They just launched this whole new organization that's filling this amazing gap within the pro-life movement, which is getting investigations using FOIA requests, using public records of where the abortion facility is just clearly skirting the law and harming women. And then they have a proven demonstrated record of they've been able to shut down abortion facilities simply just following up, going through the proper protocol and channels. And so trying to bring in Reprotection into the cities and say, hey, as we're doing this, we're educating the community about the violence happening and the nonviolent alternatives. Let's work with the activists on the ground, the prayer warriors, to figure out what's happening inside this abortion facility to shut it down. So that's what I love so much about is we're trying to be as intentional as possible about bringing as many groups together. But
so that example of the fire chief, we thought, okay, let's try to, if he's telling us there's one per day, he said the 30 that month, right? We couldn't get information from the hospital to tell us that that's why the young woman went in, because they say they're going in, they relabel this stuff.
Yeah, they're hemorrhaging.
So,
where are they hemorrhaging from?
Exactly.
What caused this epidemic of hemorrhaging?
Exactly. And so, all of those kinds of very, the way that the pro-death culture has manipulated these things so that we really can't have an honest conversation about what do you mean a 16-year-old girl was hysterical. No need to go graphic, but it's clear. So much that these men were impacted. I mean, it's the feminist movement has also done a great disservice in terms of telling men, hands off my body, until I yell, I need help for whatever the case may be. If I'm being possibly violently attacked, well, you said hands off my body, fend for yourself. I mean, being extreme, but we've really given mixed messages there, and
or
not
certainly
allowing
giving them now with the vaccination.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's just so.
Yeah. I actually, to be honest with you, I personally enjoy this entire debate because I'm just like watching them put the final nail in that coffin, that talking point. I'm like, just keep pounding it, babies.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep saying it because you're just helping me out for all the young people who are listening to this conversation. Yeah. Because my body, my choice, you're just killing it. Yeah. So
no,
I personally enjoy it.
Yeah, hypocrisy. But even then, every time you pinpoint hypocrisy, they move it, right?
They change the subject.
Yeah. It's you're not understanding me.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying. It's like, oh, okay,
no, you're just good. Philosophically inconsistent. When you're talking about this issue. Okay, so I think that's a great point. So values, breaking down silos, working together. a little bit, I would say thinking about post-Roe, post-Dobbs, chemical abortion. I think you brought, you're using it to demonstrate, but chemical abortion, and I've done lots of podcasts about chemical abortion, and I will continue to do them until the entire pro-life movement understands what is before us, and this, now the missed period pill that they're going to be talking about, which is the most devious thing that they've developed since abortion. And we've got to start preparing on that. What do you think in terms of marketing, like mind change? Because you think about a post-Roe society, our goal in the pro-life movement remains the same: make abortion unthinkable, make it illegal. We're going to have a 50-state battle. We're going to be working in the legislatures to pass laws. But, obviously nothing good's going to come out of Sacramento. I don't think anything ever comes out good out of Sacramento. Right. So here in California, going to Sacramento to convince the state legislature to vote to make abortion illegal is not even a possibility. So the work they'll have to continue here in California is going to be on the culture. And how do we change the culture? I know Live Action just launched a campaign about that. Do you want to tell us a little bit?
Yes. So 2363, every day 2,363 lives are taken because of abortion. And so Live Action is taking an initiative to go deep in 4 cities, DC, Los Angeles, New York, and Jackson. And to really, we need to go deep, which they're big metros. Jackson is not, but to really start to measure does marketing really move the needle? So let's go deep. Let's do kind of a shock and awe. And then let's start to measure, to understand. Are our materials, we love them. We think it does. Now, we have seen it is having an impact, because once Olivia came out, we received the message from Google that you are presenting misinformation. Your information is misrepresented. So they shut us down, for 24 hours. And, Live Action and, you guys as well are constantly being stopped because they got to reevaluate or, whatever. We're told
that's why you have to have information. Other legal entities ready to go. Just saying.
Just saying. But it is, it's insidious, but it's because it was working. It's because it was working. So getting that sort of information out is important. But I do think the work that you do is vitally important, because especially in this post-COVID culture where we are so desperate for human contact, how much information, sure, you can spend all your night, reading your cell phone, but a human conversation is so much more prized now. Our ability to do this is so different. And I think you have laid the foundation for that you've trained the people to have these conversations. You're willing to cold call a relationship and then build it from there. These are skills that we've lost as a society because we've allowed the digital wall to be built. And I think people hunger for it. And when there's that ability to come back as we're eking back, and in a post Roe v. Wade society, that touch point, that reaching out, and again, starting with, okay, we don't have to start with, pro-abortion as our conversation. Let's start with the recipe for gluten-free muffins that you can keep in your backpack for 3 days. I don't know. But, where can we start? I think that is going to be a key opportunity. It's relationship. Scripturally, Jesus says, dust off your feet, go into a house. If they turn you out, keep moving. But go into the house one person at a time, one household at a time. There's no way to do it. We can't Super Bowl halftime this. We've got to do it where the hardest work is one person at a time. I wish we
could Super Bowl halftime this. I would raise all the money for that Super Bowl halftime damn show and get this done with. Yeah, it's fascinating because these conversations we're having, we thought we would have more conversations every week, every month. And we're actually having fewer conversations because the conversations that we are having are taking so long. Because almost every woman who answers the door that actually engages in a conversation with us will say, how did you know? And so, we've had to go back and retrain our volunteers in how to first start talking about, spotting a post-abortion syndrome and how do we connect her. I support After Abortion is going to be a host of the National Pro-Life Summit this year. I'm so excited by that. By the way, you need to sign up for the National Pro-Life Summit, prolifesummit.org. It's going to sell out quickly. Do it soon. But I'm so excited. We actually got more in relationship with Support After Abortion after seeing this happening. And so I know we've got to do more on that. But you're right. These conversations are so powerful. We do start them off, and we don't knock on someone's door and be like, hey, we want to talk to you about babies being dismembered. We start the conversation. Hey, I want to talk to you about a resource available to help women in crisis in your community. Would you like more information? And everyone's like, well, yeah, I need to know that, and then we ask them, will you take this palm card so to have handy the next time you may meet or run across somebody who needs some help. It's when that conversation shifts, the second part of the conversation, which I wrote the script, the staff's like, stop, by the way, do you also know what's happening to Planned Parenthood? That's when the pro-abortion woman will take the palm card, crumple it, and throw it on her own ground and say, pick up my litter. That is when it shifts, because even the pro-abortion people will have a conversation and they agree, because we share the same value that women in crisis who are pregnant need help.
Yes.
And that there should be, substantial, tangible resources in her community to help her see her pregnancy through and become a successful mother who doesn't live in poverty.
But let's look at the entertainment culture, right? Which has done such a great job of brainwashing everyone into thinking, women should have, everything but a happy marriage and children.
Yes.
Everything but.
And we can be successful clowns if we do that.
Right. Absolutely. So what, nowadays where we can do watch parties together, why not take some of these toxic movies, have a watch party and have a conversation like, what if this woman would have gone this way instead of having an abortion? What would have happened if this marriage, instead of divorce, would have said, let's just keep it together for 3 days, cool down period, versus firing off, going and having a quickie, an overnight stand. I mean, which builds upon the kind of hurt and everything else. We have an opportunity. We can use the internet as a weapon for good to build some of these small marketing moments. I'm going to call it marketing moments, but community moments maybe, where again, what an opportunity to have a Kristan Hawkins go and take a favorite movie, a Disney movie or something, and say, what if...
You want me to name a movie?
If you want. I mean, I've got a ton of them too. I mean, it just, I really think the entertainment culture is being used against us.
That's right.
Let's take the entertainment culture and use it in such a way and say, imagine the kind of hopeful, joyful life.
And it's so funny because I'm racking my brain for movies. I'm like, okay, Kristan, you're cool. Have a cool movie. It won't be a cool movie, but every movie I think about though, the woman's usually, she chooses life. It's actually when you talk about these watch culture, having a watch party for a movie, you're going to choose it for a movie that she probably chose in life, because there's really not any Hollywood mainstream movies out there where she chooses abortion. Well,
the one that I'm thinking of, she chooses to coat hanger abortion, which is always
which movie?
It's the one I think it's called Road to Perdition.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I was dating my husband.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm much older, so these movies, but even something like $1 Million Baby, where that was sadly, it's like if you really loved your friend, you'd say, I don't care what condition you're in, I'm going to love you in your whatever capacity you're in. What about that response? That's how much I love you versus
Gattaca, I would say is a good watch party movie. I watched it as a freshman in college for a class, and a priest, it was the professor, and that I think about that movie a lot. Now, I mean, as technology and pre-genetic, these IVF, what's it called? PGD technology, where they screen the embryos before implantation for cystic fibrosis or Down syndrome or sex of the child. I mean, all kinds of things. I'm like, oh my gosh, everything that Ethan Hawke movie said is coming true, of having designer children and eliminating, Iceland. There aren't babies with Down syndrome being born in Iceland.
Right.
They have eliminated Down syndrome.
Right.
Because they're, and so it is these designer society. So I do think those movies are out there.
Well, and it's interesting to ask society, if you have that ability to screen for blonde eye, blue eye, are you going to screen for straight hair, curly hair, gay, transgender? Are you interested in screening that out? So what is then the designer baby?
Yeah. When is it wrong to screen for certain types of traits?
Yeah. What traits are you going to value versus others?
Yeah, no, I know. And it's completely illogical too, because she should be able to choose to have abortion. I mean, I remember Indiana passed a law not too long ago that banned, it was PRENDA, Prenatal Non-Discrimination Act. And it was first introduced in the House of Representatives. I don't think it went very far, but then they introduced it past Indiana, and the women's rights groups were against it. And literally this bill was designed to prohibit sex-selective abortions. But then the women's and feminist groups had to oppose a bill that was designed to stop the elimination. Like, it was
right. It's all that.
Yeah, they had to choose.
Intersectional. The
intersectional chart happened, and then they had to choose what they cared more about, and it was the right to unfettered access to abortion over the right of little girls to be born.
Yeah, you get in bed, you make allies with the devil. You're going to have to make some choices that are going to end up poorly for yourself, more than likely. I mean, that's the way evil works.
All right. So what other nuggets of Berni wisdom do you have for the pro-life movement as we get ready for Post-Roe America? Values, personal conversations, breaking down the silos, working together.
I would just say probably it's hard to stay informed. It's really hard. It takes a discipline. If
not everyone reads every email that I send. What? You don't listen to every podcast?
They're very interesting. I have to say, you make them very engaging. So it is very interesting because you can learn and be very, very much engaged. But I would say to people, we have all become just, what's the word? Exhausted. We're tired.
Information overload. And so then you default to what's fun.
Back in the day, there was a newspaper, and you'd get all the sections, and you would have to either, even put aside, I didn't read the sports section, but I would actually see the picture and set it aside before I threw it away. But I might come across an interesting picture and then read that first article. You would bump into things that I wouldn't naturally be predisposed to. With the your cell phone at the end of your fingertips and that search bar, you type in what you want. Now I get it. There's all that other stuff that is chosen and gets fed into you in hopes that
algorithms.
And that you will pick that stuff up. But because of that, I would say, and I've had to force myself to spend X number of minutes and hours of some seasons a day to become informed, and that's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. And don't just be informed on the one thing that's easy peasy. Try to become a lot more able to address a number of issues. And it's a hard thing. So is that a good marketing thing? Well, it makes you far more interesting at a cocktail party. I'll tell you that much. Because if you can only talk about one thing, you become pretty one-dimensional. But it does take a discipline. To be informed, somewhat informed. I'm not saying you have to be, Rhodes Scholar level, who is, and good for the one who is, but challenge yourself to be broader and to be aware of issues that may not be something you're naturally inclined to. And inevitably, it will come back to a life issue because we're talking about these lives that are no longer here.
Human dignity. That's exactly right. I remember in college, they had free USA Todays. And so every morning that was, it was ingrained in me as a political science, major. I better read something every day. And so I just pick up a newspaper, and I actually missed that. I mean, it was USA Today. I mean, it's not like super intellectual, but you got a wide breadth of what was going on. There was a little pop culture, there was sports, there was politics, there was opinion, but you knew broadly what was happening. Oh, there's this terrible bill that they're trying to pass on Capitol Hill. LeBron James just said this. like you kind of knew, and you could speak into those conversations with your point of view and your personal policies that you were trying to advocate for in class. So,
but even in entertainment. So the other night, my husband invited me to go see Dune, the new Dune.
I don't know what that's about.
It's a science fiction movie. Okay. It's very interesting. Frank Herbert. Not something that I would naturally pick.
Okay.
But I have to say, after going to see it, it opened my eyes. It made me think differently. I wouldn't have ever exercised that side of my brain had he not dragged me there. So it's a good thing. I don't know how else to say it. It's not necessarily, it may not be fun, but there's lots of places you can do amazing, fun things. And when I say fun, locking arms with, Students for Life. If they're coming into your neighborhood, find out what's going on. stand there. I mean, I was in Chicago when they had a 10K, and my husband and I ended up standing on the side of the thing. And so we ended up passing out waters because we were there and it was a blast, and so why not, but, we made lots of friends, in passing, but why not, get out there. It might be a little uncomfortable, but it'll end up well, you got to trust, you got to get on the front lines,
be informed, be willing to, think about and consider other issues beyond just one issue. And you actually start to see how they all intersect very quickly.
Truly.
You don't really have to. And I admire your outgoing personality. You just happen to be a 5K and now you're passing out all kinds of water. Like that would be like my worst nightmare. Like why would I, 1, be there? 2, why would you be passing out water to sweaty strangers?
Oh, it was hilarious. It was very fun.
And you like
it was
it.
very
so
fun. Yeah,
this is why you have a very gifted charisma that I do not possess. So well, thank you so much, Berni, for getting on and talking to us and sharing your mentoring wisdom with everybody to listen to our conversation that we normally have anyway.
Good to be with everyone.
Just this time I have makeup on. Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in and listening to this really fun conversation with Berni Neal about the future of the pro-life movement, especially as we get closer and closer to a post-Roe v. Wade America, and what we need to be doing, what we need to be thinking about as pro-life activists and advocates in our ministry, and how do we prepare our nation and prepare our movement for those next steps. So make sure you hit subscribe and you tell your friends about the Explicitly Pro-Life Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye, guys.